morning, Facebook family. It is Jen Green from Property House. It is Wednesday morning, and it's bonus week. It is September 30th, our fifth Wednesday of the month. This is the week where I do something fun and different than our normal schedule that we have on the first four Wednesdays of the month. So I thought that I would take some time today to talk to you all about why someone should sell to an investor. I mean, every time before I get on, or every time when I get on these live videos, I say who Property House is, what we do, how we can help, but I really haven't dug into it. And I was really kind of thinking about that over, the last few weeks or so, that this would probably be a really good time to start engaging folks, especially with, the lookout on evictions and the forbearance market, with foreclosures and things like that. I thought that this would maybe be a good time. Now, I don't want to say that bad things will happen. That's not the point. The point is that I think everybody should be educated on what their options are. And that's really what Property House likes to do. And so I wanted to take you through the process. I'm going to talk about what our process is. I can't speak for other investors in the metro or, globally of how they do things, but I'm going to talk about how we do things here in the metro. Again, like I said, a lot of the times people typically do have some type of a similar approach to things. But again, like I said, this is specifically just here for Property House. So don't quote me to other people. All right. Anyway, but again, like I said, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Jen Green. I am from Property House. We're located here in the Twin Cities Metro in Minnesota. We are real estate investors here who are here to help folks out of situations when they need to sell their homes quickly. And we'll be talking about why. So I want to kind of dig into that because, like I said, my intro is now, like I said, we're going to really get into that. So for those of you who are watching, if you do have questions, right, please put them in the comments. I'm able to see them. I can address your questions as they come up. Also, my assistant Katie is watching, so if anything does come up and I miss it, she can always send me a text or anything like that, and so we can make sure that we get it. However, I do want to make sure my phone is on silent because that can be loud. All right, so we're going to get started with, I think, two questions that someone should really ask themselves when they're looking to sell. One is, do I need to sell my home quickly? Right? And then the other one is, if I want to sell, traditionally on the market, do I have the means to be able to do that? Meaning, do I have the resources? Do I have the time? And do I want to put the effort into it? Those are questions that you have to ask yourself. Now, it never helps to get, an offer from an investor to kind of see where you're at. And we're going to talk about how that process works too. But the number one thing is, do I need to sell quickly? Right? And that a lot of the times is what we address of those folks who need to sell their home quickly for a myriad of reasons, right? I'm going to go over what some of those reasons could be and typically why people contact us. One is that they must sell. Like there's a divorce and it's part of their divorce decree that they have to sell the home, and maybe perhaps they have to sell it quickly in order to finish the divorce. There could be an impending foreclosure, right? There you are trying to sell your home to either, to avoid foreclosure. There's bankruptcy. In some cases, you do need to sell the home depending on what chapter you file. It's also a way to save your home is through bankruptcy. However, I've seen a lot of times that just more or less postpones the foreclosure, and a bankruptcy doesn't necessarily stop a foreclosure from moving forward. It's just kind of a stopgap for a shortened period. And then there's also folks that go away to jail or prison, incarceration. That's another piece of it. There's been a few foreclosures that have come across my desk where folks are like, I have to sell, the main breadwinner of the family has now gone off and is incarcerated, and we don't have the income to support our mortgage. So those are all things to think about if you have to sell quickly. Another one is perhaps if there's too many repairs. A lot of the times I see this with folks who are getting a little older in age. There's a lot of deferred maintenance. The house definitely has some good bones, but there's been deferred maintenance along the way, right? Maybe your roof needs to be redone. Electrical needs to be updated, plumbing, all that kind of stuff. If there's too much stuff in the way for you to be able to sell and it's too many repairs for you, that would be a really good time to contact an investor. Another one is an inherited home, right? And so a lot of the times if it's passed down through a trust, a transfer on death deed, or if you enter into probate. I know you folks here hear me talk a lot about probate, and I've interviewed a lot of the probate attorneys that we work with, and I do that because we have a really good relationship, because they trust us to help their clients. But that's a really big piece too, is if you inherited a home and you needed to sell it, number one, you're not going to really know anything about the house unless you grew up there perhaps and your parent or a loved one stayed there. But a lot of the times we deal with folks where the personal representative in the probate actually is not located in the state, and they don't really know what to do with the house. They also perhaps don't know the market well enough, and to be honest, don't really want to deal with the house, and so they look to sell to an investor. Also, a lot of the times too with probates lately, some of that deferred maintenance has been coming up, but then also hoarder homes, I've seen that quite a bit lately too, where they just really don't know what to do when houses are full of stuff and they don't necessarily want to take care of that. Our piece in that is always to say, if you'd like to go through the house and if you think there's something there that's important to you, take it, right? And then a lot of the times when we clean out, we have a cleaning company that comes in, a clean out company that comes in, and they'll separate things into recycle, donate, trash, and then also, they'll put things aside if they think maybe perhaps a family missed it. So do keep that in mind too, all right? Another one is a tired landlord. I've been seeing that a lot lately because of the non-eviction status. There's been a lot of landlords now that are put in a really bad position because they're not able to pay their rent because they're not getting rent from, their the people that they've leased to. And again, a lot of this stuff obviously comes down to it being coronavirus, and folks not being able to pay. And so those folks we've been reaching out to as well to see if it's something that they're interested in, right? Or they've contacted us too. Another one too is folks needing to downsize, meaning, their kids have moved out, them and their partner or whomever it is, or maybe perhaps they live alone, they need to go into an assisted living perhaps. Or maybe even too, if they, have a PCA that comes in, but they need to be in a smaller space because there's stairs, and be on a single level. All of these reasons are a reason why folks contact investors to purchase a home. It obviously is not every single reason, but these tend to be, the top 5 or 6, 7 reasons why someone would contact an investor and why an investor would reach out to these folks too to see if they need to sell a home. Now, the other question you need to ask yourself is, do I have the resources and the time available to get a house ready to sell on the multiple listserv or the MLS? Now, that's a question that you have to ask yourself. Right? Now, I will say I've had a lot of folks, not a lot, but a few folks who have said, no, we're going to do this ourselves. We're going to take care of their pairs. We're going to do it. We're going to hire someone. But the problem is that that's a full-time job. I mean, honestly, I literally have one person that is my project manager that is in charge of the jobs that we're doing to have her there. And so, okay, yeah, thanks for posting that. Katie just posted a way to get a hold of us in the comments. It's hello@propertyhousepartners.com. Also, our phone number is listed there. There's lots of different ways to get a hold of us. So thanks, Katie, for posting that. But I was just going to say, the other part is, like I said, they're sitting there saying, oh, I can do this myself. And then 3, 4, 5 months later down the road, they haven't really gotten any further than they were before, have just sort of lost money. I shouldn't say sort of, they've lost money, right? And then call me later and say, gosh, you know what, Jen, I really wish I would have sold you a while ago. Can we still do something? Yes, absolutely. I'm not going to tell you to do it or not do it. I just a lot of the times like to say, do you feel comfortable in taking this on? Have you ever renovated a home before? Have you ever worked with a general contractor before? Because those are questions that you need to ask yourself. Are you living in the area? Can you get there? Can you get the work hired out? Because the other issue right now, especially with COVID, is that a lot of the materials are on back order. I mean, it's 10 to 12 weeks out for windows. There's no lumber available. It's very sparse if it is available. Foam board has gone up 100% in price. These are things to think about. And of course, we know this, so we take this into account when we give out bids. But it's something that's currently happening, and there's no control that we have over that. So if you feel like it's overwhelming and it's not something that you want to take on, and you don't have the means and you don't have the resources necessary for it, you can contact us. We're going to help you, right? Or some other investor perhaps that's local in your area, or somebody that you know. There's going to be someone there that's going to be able to help you, all right? Now that you've decided, let's say, to sell to an investor, well, what does that mean? What does that process look like? A lot of the times I hear from folks, well, I don't want to go with an investor because I don't want to get a lowball offer. I hear you. I wouldn't want to get a lowball offer either. So when we go into houses, we explain everything that we go through of how it's going to work, right? What we do before we come to the house, right? Typically it's me that comes to the house to meet you there, right? But what ends up happening is that we will do our homework before we come. What this means is that I will do a comparative market analysis, meaning I will take the home that you currently have and do comparable homes that are comparable, right, to your house. So let's say it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, 1,500 square foot Rambler with a finished basement. All right, that's a very typical house here in the metro, and a Rambler is a single story. It's a very typical house here in the metro that we see, or a 1.5 story, with a basement. Those are very typical houses. So what I do is I will look within a 1/4 mile radius, sometimes out to a 1/2 mile, depending upon, how big the lots are, of houses that have sold between the last 3 to 6 months that are within that 1/4 mile radius that have 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, are around 1,500 square feet, plus or minus 200 square feet. If we go above 2,500 square feet, I'll go up to 300 square feet. But do keep that in mind. We pull these very tight. Same school district. Same type of house, right? Meaning it's a Rambler or a 1-story or a 1.5 story. Garage spaces, that's a big thing too, if there is even a garage, right? The school district. All of these things come into play when selling a house, and these are the things that we look at before we come in purposely so that we know exactly what we can sell a house for on the backside. Because that's what we base our numbers off, is what's called an ARV, or an after repair value. These are the numbers that we base what we're going to purchase the house for, is based upon that sale number after the home is renovated, all right? So if you're meeting with an investor, they should come and bring that stuff to show you, right? So that you know exactly what's happening in your market. You know exactly what the house could sell for once it's renovated. Because typically an investor, now I'm not going to speak for everybody else, but they would like to come in, renovate a home, fix things that need to be fixed, to then sell it on, the top of the market. That's the purpose of this, right? So obviously there's an equation that goes into that, and that's something that we take into account, and I'll talk about that a little bit too. But know that your investor, whomever it is that you invest with, should be showing you a comparative market analysis, or at least letting you know what it is that this house can sell for, because again, that's what those numbers are going to be based on. The second one is that you should have somebody come and do an in-person tour of your home. Now, one of the things lately has been what's called a virtual wholesaler. These are people who are out of state. They target certain markets, and they'll call and just do verbal offers over the phone for your house based on pictures. I'm not saying that this doesn't work and that you're not going to get good offers, but the thing is, a lot of the times what I'm seeing is that these folks will give unrealistic offers because they haven't gone through the house just to get the house under contract, meaning that you signed a purchase agreement, but there are some contingencies on that. It's not necessarily going to be a closed offer right away, right? So I'm going to talk about that a little bit too, but make sure that you have someone come and see your house in person. It's really important for them to understand that house and also understand what it's going to take to fix that house, right? Like if you have a fuse box in your house, well, that person's maybe not going to know that because, let's say your house was built in the 50s. A lot of those times those were built with fuses, but it needs to be updated for different kinds of mortgages, like FHA, first-time home buyers. They're not going to finance a home where it has fuse boxes. And so these are things to take into account, and the benefit of having an in-person tour with someone coming and actually physically taking a look at your house. Now, a lot of the time, sometimes these virtual home buyers will have people in the area that will come and look at your house, but they'll only do that once they've gotten your house under contract first. And then a lot of the times that number can change later, which is something I'll also talk about in a little bit too. Now, the third thing is that we're going to consider what the updates and repairs are, right? I have actually Rehab Estimator Pro, which Matt Hedstrom was somebody that I interviewed a few weeks ago, or a few months ago maybe now. Gosh, we've been doing this for a while. But this is what I use when I go into homes. And I like to use this because it's a visual. It puts together a repair budget for people right in front of them, right? And the thing is that then this gives folks the understanding of what it's going to take to bring a home, back to move-in ready condition. And the reason I do this is because I think it's important for people to see that, not only for understanding what the numbers are, but then perhaps maybe if they're also considering it, that, wow, gosh, it's going to take me X amount of money to get, my house back into tip-top shape. Now in Minnesota, right, and this is just Minnesota, but a typical average 3-bed, 2-bathroom house that only needs cosmetic fixes, right? Meaning making it pretty, right? This doesn't include the roof, this doesn't include windows, electrical, plumbing, any of that stuff, just more or less cosmetic. So fixing up a kitchen, bathrooms, carpet, paint, flooring, that type of stuff. An average, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house at 1,500 square feet is going to be anywhere between $35,000 to $45,000 to do, right? That's a typical number. Now, don't quote me on that, right? Because it's going to depend on the little intricacies, but that's an average just to give folks an idea that that's what it's going to take to fix a house, right? That just needs cosmetics, all right? So a lot of the times, there's those shows out there that make you think, oh gosh, I can fix my house for $10,000 or $15,000. Well, it's just sort of not, it's not true. It's very hard to do that, especially if you need some landscaping or different things like that. Please keep that in mind, that that's a typical time, and that's our number. Right? And that's another thing to keep in mind too, is that is my number. That is not a retail number. You're going to have to add 25 to 30% on top of that number when it comes to a general contractor, because they need to make their profit on top of that too. But that is my number. So do keep that in mind. Okay. The other thing is then we're going to assess the market risk, meaning, what's the time frame of renovating this house, right? Until from when I purchase it to when I renovate it to when I get a purchase agreement to when I can sell it. That typical timeline of just, a 3 to 5 week timeline of fixing things, right, is going to be about 4 to 5 months. That's a typical time frame for folks, right? So do you have that time frame, right? You usually want to have about $10,000 worth for us. We want $10,000 worth of work done per week. Is that perfect? No. You guys are going to see that next week when we go to our house that we're renovating in St. Paul. We're behind, and that's just because of coronavirus stuff, that we weren't able to get things done in time. And obviously I'll talk about that next week. But those are things for you to think about right now. Do you have time for your project to take 3 to 5 weeks longer? If I have to order windows, do I have 10 to 12 weeks to wait for that? Can I make the upkeep on the house? Can I pay for the utilities? Winter is coming. Think about what heat's going to look like. All of these things have to come into play when you're thinking about selling or thinking about holding on to a house, because all of these things, especially if you're paying a mortgage on the house, or if you have your own mortgage and you're paying your own utilities, and there's maybe perhaps if you inherited a home, right, and there's not money in the estate to pay for it, that's something to think about. Or even for you too, if you're struggling to make your payments and you can't pay, or you don't have the time and effort and resources to be able to put that into action, right, and sell it in the time that you want, that's something to also think about, all right? And then the last one is, like I said, we take the value, right? So assessing that risk, like I said, right? So we'll take the value, we'll minus what the repairs are going to cost us, we'll minus the risk and timeline, and then that's how we come up with our number. And so I always like to have people with me there at the appointment that are all of the decision makers. And the reason I say that is because this is a process. I'm usually with folks for at least an hour when I go through their home to explain what it is I'm going to do the house, the timeline it's going to take me, the risk that's coming into it, what I'm going to be able to sell the home for, and then ultimately come to what my number is, right? And so that's what the number comes from. And a lot of the times if people just hear a number because, someone comes in and out of their house for 10 minutes and then shoots them an email and says, oh, here's my number. Well, of course it sounds like a lowball offer because perhaps you're not understanding the process, right? Or they're not explaining it to you of what it's actually going to take to fix your house. Because it really comes in, this is my full-time job, and it is a full-time job for somebody, and not everybody is necessarily cut out to do that. If you are, God bless you, right? Because it's a job. And if you can do it, I hope you can to maximize, the return on the house. But if you're not able to do that, you don't have the time, you don't have the resources, the knowledge, the experience, or if you just plain out don't want to do it, that's the really good time to contact an investor to be able to help you, and that will be able to come out and help you, all right? So I want to just talk a little bit about what a good offer looks like, because we are coming up to our time. But a good offer to me is somebody who is experienced and does not have to have contingencies, right? This is typically how I present my offers. Now, I can't speak for other investors because a lot of the times some folks will give a higher number to put that contingency on there to then go back through in their inspection and say they missed A, B, C, and D. I've seen that happen a lot, and that's not fair for people. A lot of the times they'll give that number that's too good to be true just to get a house under contract. And then, like I said, they'll come in later, put an inspection contingency on there, walk through the house, walk the people all the way up until that sale date, right? And maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 days before say, gosh, you know what? I missed A, B, C, and D. I'm going to need another $25,000 off the price. And then the homeowner is stuck in that position saying, gosh, I don't want to go through this again. Yeah, I'm going to lose that, but I just want to close. And that's not fair. And I've seen that happen a lot. And so I wanted to bring that to light. I'm not saying everybody does that, but I have seen it because, you know, things are competitive at the moment. And I've seen people offer way too high, which makes absolutely no sense, right? If you're an actual investor and trying to make a profit off of this, the numbers don't make sense. You're putting that homeowner in a bad position to later come back and, you know, they're selling. And then that's what gives investors a bad name. And those are people you don't want to work with. Because if they're sitting there saying, you know, those numbers are too high and they come back with a contingency, right, and then switch the number on you, that's not fair. Our number 100% of the time is what we close at, right? I do not have contingencies. I buy as is. That is my number. I have enough experience walking through houses to know exactly what it's going to cost for me to fix a house. And if I screw up, that's my fault, right? I'm not going to make that mistake for a homeowner. It has to be a win-win situation. And I know that's a cliche, but I say that because homeowners need to feel comfortable with who they're working with. They need to like them and they need to trust them. And so every time we go through that process and what it looks like. We come highly recommended from the professional community. And there's a reason for that. It's because we close every time, we do what we're going to say, and we provide the best offers for folks, right? A lot of the times I like to present 3 different offers depending on somebody's situation. And it's going to depend on what type of, you know, home they're selling and what type of situation they're in. But if I can offer 3 different offers and then they choose what they like the best, that's a win-win situation for everybody because it's going to work for the owner. And then I've also put it into a position where it's going to work for us too. And so think about that stuff when you are, you know, contacting your investor or we reach out to you. I mean, we're always looking to purchase homes in different neighborhoods, you know, throughout the Twin Cities. We make a lot of calls all the time to different people in different neighborhoods, in different circumstances and situations to see if people are ready to sell. And perhaps now that we're kind of on the brink of, you know, nobody knows what's going to happen, obviously, with coronavirus. I hope we're not at that point where we reach a tipping point when the market shifts, but who knows? We could. And so do think about what your situation is like, all right? I want you to know that we will always be open and honest with you here at Property House. We're based, our ethics and morals, it's integrity, openness, and doing things in a timely manner, not changing our offer and changing our numbers and changing what we're going to do. Because we will close, and we close 100% of the time, every time. And there's a reason for that, is because we are based on, we have ethics and morals in our business. And I ask for that, you know, like I said, from our homeowners that we meet with too, that if you say to me, you know, I don't know anything about this house, or gosh, you know, there's something wrong with the sump pump and perhaps, you know, I wouldn't know about it, I would expect the same out of the people that we're meeting with too. And so it's really about building that rapport with our home, you know, with the homeowners and building that trusting relationship really quickly. So, gosh, I feel like I just yelled at everybody for the last 20 minutes, but I'm very passionate about this. It wasn't yelling, it was just passion really speaking, because I feel really deeply about this, that folks need to feel like they like the person they're working with, they trust them, they know them, and then they feel good about working with them, and then can recommend their services to other people. A lot of the times too, especially folks in foreclosure and probate situations, have recommended us to other people because they felt good because they were being taken care of, right? And walked through the process. It was an educational process for them. They were able to ask questions, right? So if you are a homeowner and you are looking to sell your home, whether it's for cash or for terms, and you want to do something quickly, please reach out to us. We are here to help you. Even if you don't live in the state, right? I'm happy to help in that way. I have a lot of relationships with other investors throughout the country that I like, know, and trust. And to be honest, have vetted myself. There are certain people that I will not work with, and there are certain people that I will work with. And if you live out of state and you're looking for that help and you want to reach out to us. We're here to help in any way that we can. Any kind of situation where you're looking to sell your home for cash or for terms, we're here to help. Katie's posting our website, which is propertyhousepartners.com. then you can also reach out to us through email at hello@propertyhousepartners.com. We also have a lot of our before and after pictures on Instagram, which is also Property House Partners. Those are really good places to get a hold of us. Some of our before and afters are pretty exquisite because some of the things, like I said, some of the situations that we're able to get folks out of, they're really awesome to see the before and after. And then there's just the joy of being able to sell that home to another family to experience that house in a way that, you know, a previous family had is such a gift for us. So contact us. Like I said, if you have questions, you can also, you know, private message me too. That works as well. Next week, super excited. Like I said, we were delayed quite a bit on our St. Paul house, but now things are moving forward. We still have some humps and bumps that we're going to have to overcome, but I'll be talking about that next week. So it'll be a live tour of our St. Paul renovation, and I'll see you guys then. I hope everybody has a wonderful week and a safe, healthy week, and we'll see you next time. Contact us for questions. See you guys later.